Welcome back to the Fast Break, friends. It is Wednesday, June 24th, and we got a big show for you today. As always, joined by Todd. We are going to be talking about the massive blockbuster Giannis trade that happened a couple of days ago. Um, both the Celtics and the Heat vying for Giannis, the Heat winning that one out. And then yesterday, the NBA draft, at least just the first round of it, because for some reason they got to make it 2 rounds these days. But we're going to go over the lottery picks from the first round and some of the picks later on that we liked as well, too. And thank you guys for joining us. And Todd, let's get into it. Let's get into it. It
Yeah.
was massive, massive news. Me and you have been talking about Giannis getting traded for a long time. And Todd, you look great today. I love the lighting in your house. How are you?
Shout out to the sun in June in Washington. It's definitely carrying right now. So glad all these, newcomers for the World Cup are here and get to experience Washington in its true beauty. Mountains out, sun's out. We're all catching tans.
Love it. Love it. Sun is carrying. Is the Earth a system player? Are they getting carried by the sun? People are asking
World may
questions.
never know. Till
Can
we break them apart, the world may never know. We'll never know who's better off without who. Kind of reminds me of a little something we're going to talk about today.
hmm can the Earth be a 1A? I don't think so. I think the Earth is maybe a B. Sun is a 1A, and we're rotating around it, kind of like a couple of players in the NBA that think the world revolves around them. But if you are in the great state of Wisconsin, never been, but I'm here they like to drink, and that makes it a great state for me. Then you think the world revolves around Giannis Antetokounmpo. And like we said, he's been traded. He's been traded, Todd. He had two serious teams coming in giving offers. It was the Miami Heat, our Boston Celtics. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, there's differences of opinion out there. Giannis is a Miami Heat. And all the edits of him in a Miami jersey over the years that I thought would never come true are here. He is going to Miami with Bobby Portis. In return, the Milwaukee Bucks are getting Wisconsin, born and raised, Tyler Hero, which, if you were the Bucks owner, I guess was a big deciding factor, considering he might not want to leave, like potentially a Jaylen Brown in a year or so. So you get Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez Jr., a player I do like, a nice little role player, Jonas, and Kalel Ware, who has shown pop at times as well too. Who I guess you can look at if you're the Bucks and think, okay, that guy's got some serious potential. He seems to be progressing over the first 2 years and could be a solid rotational player, fringe all-star maybe. And then you also get 3 first-round picks out of it. The first of which they took last night, number 13 in the draft, which they used on Nate Ament. Mixed emotions on him coming out of college. I saw some people that really liked him, thought he was the class of that, guard combo that was all getting drafted between 5 and 10 last night. But I also saw people that thought he's kind of a finished product and they didn't like what they saw as far as, you know, a lot of his values are projected, and then they didn't see a ton of it in college. But we'll see. You just got drafted. And then a 31 and 33 unprotected first, which could be good picks down the road. The Miami Heat never bottom out, but with the way the draft is set up now, if they have a old Giannis and some, you know, decent pieces with them, they could fall into that, uh, play in or just outside of the playoff uh, space that now is at the top of the draft. So those could be good picks. They could be bad. I don't know. They're very far out. Like 33 is 7 years out. So who knows on that one? And then
Yeah.
the right to swap in 30 and 33. So A lot of moving parts here. I don't know if I love it for either team. I don't know if the Bucks can point at any singular piece of that and be like, there is what we got back for the Giannis trade. I guess, it's going to take some years to figure out there. And if you're the Miami Heat, you're certainly better than you were a couple of days ago, but I still don't know if you're even a top 3 team in the East. So, um, but gets them out of the mid purgatory that they've been in for the last few years. So, I don't know. Potentially for me, it's a lose-lose, but we're just gonna have to see. Todd, what are your kind of thoughts on the Giannis to Miami trade?
Um, Yeah, so what I find interesting is just kind of mentioning like Miami not bottoming out. Obviously, with the change in the lottery rules, like if this trade had happened, you would have had Miami with one lottery ball. Last year when they got swept by Cleveland, this year they would have had two lottery balls. The obviously losing in the play-in. The year before that, they actually, or 2 years before that, where the 8 seed would have had a one lottery ball and ended up in the NBA Finals. So, Miami Heat obviously very tricky to figure out, especially with the new lottery positioning where they'll end up. But it certainly makes the level of those picks more valuable because of the way that the system changed. I don't think Miami Heat were ever going to be a top 3 or 4 pick with the previous system. So they'd have to get incredibly lucky. Uh, so I think it's good for Milwaukee in that sense. What I don't understand is they don't necessarily have control of their own picks, moving forward. So, I mean, there's no reason to be bad, but they're not gonna be good. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess they were worried about Jalen wanting to be out of there in a year if they did trade for Jalen. I don't see why Tyler Hero the only reason I can see why Tyler Hero would wanna stay there is because his agent's telling him that they're gonna be willing to offer him a max extension. There's not one other team in the NBA that'd be willing to do that. I'd be shocked if Milwaukee does it, but I still think they're willing to give him the most money, which is why he's like, "Okay, I'll go back home and I'll sign an extension for the most money." But I don't think somebody like Tyler Hero who dates supermodels and, like, has lived in South Beach and, is friends with lots of famous people. He does not wanna live in Milwaukee, for 9 months a year. Maybe for $200 million he would just because, it's $200 million, but we'll see. Another interesting plot point of that too is him and Kuzma have, um I don't know if it's his fiancée or his girlfriend or whatever, but Kyle Kuzma did
I was
used
just
to
about to
date
say
his
this.
person, and, so, I mean, and that's not it depends on the people involved. Obviously, some people are like, "Dude, I don't care, that was years ago." Some people, it's awkward, so that's something to watch out for with Kuzma. Um, yeah, Milwaukee's in a weird spot. I think the Miami part of it is a lot more interesting. I think yeah, defensively, they certainly look like they're gonna be pretty good if Giannis is gonna be on the floor, obviously. They're gonna be good whether or not he's on the floor because Bam is just an anchor, but then you add Giannis to that. Worried about the shooting. I'm sure that they'll be able to find shooters to surround them with. Probably not gonna be good enough this year, but if they can figure out along the margins like they have in the past, and then you still have Eric Spoelstra, they've improved their chances of winning a championship over the course of the next 5 years. I just think it went from, like, 1% to, like
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly closer, and Miami has a tendency to attract free agents, as we've seen. They haven't gotten the top dogs like Giannis over the last, um, you know, 6 years or so since getting Jimmy Butler. Um, but they can at least point to this and say, "We have Giannis now." And as we know, when you have Giannis, you have a chance because some of those Bucks teams weren't really that good and were still scary in the playoffs. Uh, yeah, as far as Tyler Hero and Kyle Kuzma, Katya Elise Henry, I think is her name. Um, that'll be interesting, you know,
I mean, it's not a
if they can
major
make it that
plot,
something
but
happen.
a little bit of a subplot there.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, guys can get over things. I was just listening to Part of My Take, and Wyndham Clark tweeted out that he hated Baker Mayfield. Come to find out, Baker Mayfield banged his girlfriend back in college. Wyndham said him and Baker are cool now. So look, make amends, share the basketball, couple passes, couple oops. You know what? Right on the same page. Let's make it work. Who's their coach now? I forget. Who's the coach of the
I like their
Bucks?
coach,
Uh,
Taylor Jenkins. That's the one thing that I
Taylor
think
Jenkins.
Milwaukee's done nicely, over the
Yeah.
last, 36 months or so.
Yeah. I mean, certainly better than any coach they've had since Coach Bud and the championship. So I like what he'll probably be able to do. Um, yeah, it's interesting for the Heat because the teams are so deep now. Like you can't just have a top 5 guy. You need to have a top 5 guy. You need to have a second guy who is in that 15 to 20 range, which Bam is in that range. But then you also got to have depth. You got to have real depth. Look at OKC Thunder. Look at the Spurs. Look at the Knicks. You know, like these are teams with real depth. Denver didn't have the depth, didn't even get close to a championship this year. And they got arguably the best player in the league. So, I mean, they're kind of running an old model that the Miami Heat are used to of like, just get the big stars, we'll get the big stars, and that'll be fine. It's kind of what it inevitably led to the downfall of the early 2010s Miami Heat. They didn't have the depth in 2011. They lost to the Mavs, and they were running on fumes and also didn't have the depth in 2014, and they lost to the Spurs. So we'll see. The only thing that sucks for them is, yeah, they did get closer to a championship, but the problem is that it's not going to happen this year. If they can add some depth and make some magic happen, they might have it for next year. But now you're at Giannis at 33 years old. What does Giannis look like in 2 years? You know, the last healthy playoff run was 22. I mean, that's 4 years ago, man. Like what's it gonna look like in 2 more years? So I props to them. They had to do something, like I said in the intro. Like you were just in basketball purgatory being mid, which is exactly what Tyler Hero and Bam kind of were together, the epitome of mid. Um, so I mean, it's something you had to do. We'll see. They're gonna have to get lucky. Um, Ideally for them, they'd be able to sign Norm Powell on a cheaper contract and keep him, but he's not going to stay. He's going to go get paid by somebody else. So they're losing a shooter there. Um, and Gabe Vincent is not walking through that door. So they're gonna be hurting for shooting, and hopefully they can find it for their sake, I suppose.
Yeah,
Um,
I think with Miami, and you look at, like, kind of the way that the team is gonna ultimately be constructed, you're right. It's kind of the problem that the Celtics and some of these other teams are already running into, and they've started it right from they get their team hasn't even started, and they're already going to run into this problem of, oh wow, we have two max players, and now we have to find guys on the fringes. With that said, obviously the advantage of the Florida and the tax and the Miami aspect of it and the legacy franchise, but I mean, I think they had to do it. It takes them from literally having no chance to, like, okay, like you have a chance now, but you're still so far behind the best teams. Um, I think that's why Boston didn't do it. I mean, if you look at we were not willing, or the Celtics weren't willing to gut the franchise in order to get Giannis, because they knew that they needed to still have the surrounding pieces and the depth to be able to win the championship, which is the number one goal. We're still close to a championship now without taking that big of a risk. Miami wasn't. So to know for a fact, like Brad Stevens may have been weighing, look, maybe Jalen and Jason aren't good enough as a combo anymore because the league got better. I should look into this. The Miami Heat knew for a fact Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo were not good enough, and that Giannis gave them a significantly better chance of one day raising another banner. So they had to do it, and they were willing to move off some of these pieces that are players that I like. I mean, I like Javi Jaquez. Ware is the most interesting piece because he clearly has the most. I mean, if you find a guy that can average 3 blocks a game and hit 3 threes a game, that's everybody's looking for that. It's what the Celtics fucking need right now. And so, watch out for Miles Turner, by the way. He might be on the move. Who knows? Maybe Brad Stevens facilitated this whole thing to get Miami to overpay, and now we get Miles Turner on the cheap.
Hey, I wouldn't hate Miles Turner at the right contract. 20 million for Miles Turner. I could do that. I can stomach that. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of what they're able to do. Obviously, they were they were far away from it. They're going to Miami. They're going to Miami, Todd. Uh, I'm interested to see what their kind of next moves are. Do you think they have an ability to fill out this roster at all? I mean, you said they're in Miami. Are they going to be able to compete really at all? I mean, now if you get a full healthy Giannis, like I said, they have the chance to compete in that aspect
I
because yeah,
I expect them to steal some of the like you were asking how they're gonna fill this roster. I expect them to steal some of the guys from Milwaukee. These guys that are on expirings, like Kevin Porter Jr. There's another guy that I saw that is technically gonna be like an expiring or free agent. I would expect the Miami Heat to try and steal some of those guys. You have dude, Zach Levine. That could be
yeah,
somebody that I mean, Wiggins is a trade piece. I mean, we'll see. People say they might not be able to bring back Norm Powell. Some people are saying they are going to be able to bring back Norm Powell. We'll see. I don't know. I think that filling out the roster is going to be the biggest challenge. But we've certainly seen them been able to do it before. With those
so
Butler teams.
yeah. What I was going to ask a second ago, if you couldn't tell, I kind of forgot where I was going halfway through that sentence, but what I was going to ask was so in my opinion, JB is obviously the best asset that Milwaukee could have gotten. At least at least if they would have done the Boston thing, and there's two sides to it because with the Boston offer, you could actually point to Jaylen Brown and be like, that is a second team All NBA player that is won finals MVP, that is a few years younger, that we can certainly build around. And so do you think that Milwaukee should have taken the Jaylen Brown Celtics offer with a couple of, you know, bad picks as well too? Um, or should they have gone with the Miami offer? Because at the end of the day, maybe they were right. Maybe Jaylen Brown didn't wasn't going to stay in Milwaukee, and um, and it gives them flexibility going forward. Like they have first round picks that they might be able to turn into real players down the road, depending on what Miami's situation is. And I think that's probably what the owners went with at the end of the day. Owners and GM, or I think the GM went with at the end of the day, because that's something they can point at down the road of like, this is how we rebuild. This is how we build another championship roster. Please don't fire me. I have assets coming in the future. Because if you all you get is Jaylen Brown, a couple shitty picks, and then Jaylen Brown doesn't want to be there, then you're super fucked in like 2 years. So I think it's probably smarter and better for job safety to roll with the Miami offer. I just think there's got to be something in return for Giannis that you can point to and be like, we got that, and that's good. Right now with this Miami offer, if Khalil Ware doesn't turn into like an all-star player, it is, and they don't nail these picks in 31 and 33, it's going to be like, holy shit, we just traded a one-time all-star for a two-time MVP, NBA Finals MVP, and got nothing else from it.
And they have
Which
no track
will
record of being able to draft well.
they've drafted zero role players to their organization that they have used on their team in 7 years.
Or
That's bad.
development.
Really
Even
bad.
just drafting, sure, drafting and development's all combination, but like, development is part of like all of these guys have fucking talent. Like they're all going to the NBA. It's about like curtailing that and being able to like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like grow it, farm it. So anyway, when I'm looking at the Eastern Conference standings though, and I'm Milwaukee, I'm concerned because I think I'm going into the relegation zone next year. I don't think that they're going to be able to stay out of that relegation zone. I think the Bulls are better and are going to actively try to win more. Yeah, I mean, the incentive is to win more, obviously, because if you're in the bottom three, you only get two lottery balls compared to three. So, I mean, I think the Bulls are better than them. I think the Nets will be better than them with Julius Randle. And the Nets are going to be like um, actually trying to win. A lot of these teams like Indiana and the Wizards weren't that bad last year. They were just actively trying to lose. The Bucks were trying to win, and then we're kind of tanking, but then kind of not because they waited too long and just I think they're gonna be in the bottom 3 and that it just the way that they've done this whole thing is such a shame for the Milwaukee fans and, you know, obviously Miami comes out on top. I'm not as worried about the Celtics as everybody else. I think Jalen and Brad have probably had conversations, and Brad was probably like, "Look, we're in conversations with Milwaukee about acquiring Giannis Antetokounmpo. Your name has been involved. You will not be out of the loop. You will know before anybody else if this thing is going down. Just want to give you a heads up. Like, this is a real conversation." The only other time he's really had to do that was when they were thinking about getting Kevin Durant. Different time, different, um, you know, uh, time and place for Jaylen Brown in terms of his accomplishments and where he's at in his life. Obviously, coming off being the man last year, he might be having a little bit of, man, it'd be really nice to go have my own franchise. But I also think he wants what's best for him and what's best for the Celtics franchise. Like, I think if Brad goes to him and he says, "Hey, look, we'll continue to look for a trade for you, but if it's not there and if there's equal value isn't there, like we're gonna bring you back." I don't think Jalen's gonna be that upset about it. I don't think he's gonna make it weird. I just think he's gonna make it as a challenge. You say, "Look, oh, you think I'm not this, or you think I'm not that? Well, I'm gonna, you know, do my best to show you wrong."
Yeah, and I mean, I think Brad has the trust and understanding being there since, the mid 2010s to patch that together. If they, since this trade didn't come to fruition, I don't know if they're still shopping his name out there. I know teams are inquiring and making offers. I don't know if he's actually still shopping Jalen Brown, though. If he is, that means he's probably gone. But we'll see. I think the Clippers and other teams have inquired about it, so we'll see kind of what happens. I think the relationship is salvageable just because I think they made that offer. From what I've heard, they made that offer couple weeks ago, just threw out Jalen Brown, couple of picks, and didn't even follow up on that. And I think the Bucks were kind of waiting for them to make another offer, and I don't think the Celtics did, and so they went with Miami's offer, which, you know, not a lot. Like it was certainly beatable if the Celtics really wanted to. Like they could have thrown in Hugo and another pick, but they didn't, which tells me they kind of threw that out there as a feeler. So we'll see. And I think they would be able to sell that to Jalen and be like, look, man, yeah, put out an offer, okay? Sorry. But anyway, Miami Heat win. That's why I'm wearing my camo. The Miami Heat went buck hunting and they got a big old deer. So props to them. Congratulations. You're slightly more relevant now.
I still think that the Celtics are. I mean, it's concerning because you look at over the last, let's say, 18 to 24 months since the Celtics won the title, the Wizards have gotten better. Indiana has gotten better. I mean, obviously they took a step back last year, but they've improved. Uh, Miami's now gotten better. The Hornets have gotten better. The Magic have gotten better. I'm not saying they're better than the Celtics, but like they've improved their teams and they've shrunken the gap between us and them. 76ers clearly, I mean, I don't know, are they better than us? They just beat us. I don't know. I don't think so, but um, Atlanta's definitely gotten better. Obviously, Toronto gotten better. I don't think they're real contenders, though. The Knicks and Detroit, every single team in the Eastern Conference has gotten better, and we have actively gotten worse in the last 24 months, and that is undeniable.
Yeah, well, I mean, that second apron came for the Celtics, and we just had to cut ties with Drew and Porzingis, and I mean, at the right time too. I don't think if we had those guys, we'd be like that much better. Um, but we'll see. I mean, last year was a step back for sure, even though we were still this number 2 seed. But it was a step back, and it was getting a lot of younger guys run, and I think we could be coming up and getting better if Shireman, Hugo, Walsh all continue to get better, and we'd be on an upward trajectory instead of a downward trajectory. What are you laughing at?
It's just kind of funny because,
I have
there are so many people, like, all of us as Celtics fans were like, yeah, no, don't put in Hugo. That's way too much. 2 first, Jalen and Hugo, and people around the league are like, he averaged 3 points a game. I'm like, you didn't watch the games.
saw it with my eyes. He
Yeah,
was
he's
good.
good. He's
It's the
gonna be
eye test.
fucking Manu Ginobili, dude.
Yeah. It's the eye test. And you know what? And we got Chris Sinak Jr. coming in from Houston. And guess what? He's a great rebounder, okay? And that's how we're going to start talking about the draft. Like you said, a lot of these teams that have been bad for a few years now have excitement and hope. So let's just start at the top. AJ DeBonsa, who, God, I've been watching this guy for a couple of years now because he was a New Englander guy, went to Utah for prep academy, went to BYU, saw a few games at BYU. God, he's good. And he ends up being the number 1 overall pick, like a lot of people had expected, but we didn't know for sure because there was some Darren Peterson buzz at 1 as well too. But eventually, the Wizards just went with AJ, and I mean, you gotta like the way the Wizards are looking for next year. I mean, you got Sar, who at the very least looks like, good defender. Um, and then you got AD, you got Trey, who we'll talk about his overpay potentially. But that was really tough. But you also have a young team that, look, things will move around in a couple of years. It's fine. And you have AJ DeBonsa, and I really like AJ DeBonsa. I think he's going to be a star, and it's just a good 1-1 pick.
I don't think I would trade for that Trae Young contract, even if they included AJ DeBonsta in it. Did you see Brian Windhorst say that?
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah,
That's
I was
crazy.
like, nah, think you would.
I'm pretty sure like 28 teams would take AJ DeBonsa if all they had to do was also take Trae Young.
Like the Spurs are like, yeah, we'll trade you De'Aaron Fox for fucking Trae Young and the number 1 pick. Like, what?
yeah.
Like, there's plenty of teams that would do it. It's just kind of
I would
funny
do
that
that
he
even
brings.
if you put in Carter Bryant. Like, yeah, sure. I love
Oh,
AJ.
yeah.
I think AJ's a stud, dude.
It'd be disgusting. Dylan Harper and Wemby, and then obviously this is a fantasy, but anyway, yeah, it's just kind of funny.
That would be the guy that can get a bucket and has the size to. I mean, we're talking about a guy that can, scoring wise, I think he can be like a Kevin Durant level. I really do. Like, I scored from all 3 levels. I love this guy. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he has the potential to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, in the NBA, that's not hard, obviously, but like he could be in a Hall of Famer if he's a damn good role player these days. But I love it. Good pick by them. I think they didn't mess around with any of the hoopla of Darren Peterson, Boozer. I mean, he's a little bit more of a wild card than Boozer, I guess you could say. But the upside the upside is he's a first team all NBA guy, and I think that's what they're gonna get with him. I really like AJ DeBonsa. And then moving on to number 2, Utah, who, rumors of Boozer because his dad played in Utah and it was a safer pick. But eventually Danny Ainge went with Darren Peterson, and that's gotta be the biggest, I guess, sign of approval and confidence that this guy is actually going to be good. Because obviously, Darren Peterson had the kind of off the court, on the court issues where he's checking out of games early, missing games because of creatine related cramps and medical issues. So you weren't sure how, I guess, dedicated and in love he was with basketball because a lot of guys, you want them out there playing all the time. Um, but if Danny Ainge, who knows top end talent, a la Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Um, Ace Bailey, who looked like a great draft pick from last year. If he has signed off and is comfortable drafting Darren Peterson, then I have a feeling this guy can be a first team All NBA guy, and people have compared him to Kobe Bryant if he reaches his peak. So I the fact that Utah have the confidence to do this, I'm all in on Darren Peterson. I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, I've been saying for like basically since they made the trade for Jaren Jackson Jr., but even before that, that Utah was setting themselves up for, regardless of what happened in this lottery next season, they were not going to be trying to lose anymore, and that they were really going to go for it. Obviously, stacking all the assets. They're starting 5 top 6 guys. I just think are very good, and I think they're gonna compete. Um, with the Suns, the Lakers, some of those teams, Portland, depending on what they do, towards the middle part of that Western Conference. And I think they're gonna they're gonna be a real team. I really do. We'll see as far as obviously health and but if Darren Peterson comes in and he is who we think he is, then they are going to be really good, and they're going to be good for a while because they have guys that are young. They also have guys that are in their prime. So as Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen maybe start to exit their prime a little bit, you could even trade them before the fall off, or you could ride it out and then re-sign them to lesser contracts and have them be kind of the replacement as Ace Bailey and Darren Peterson go up, and then you have these guys kind of come down, and so I like the way that their team is set up. Obviously, the Angels are very shrewd. I'm not surprised they took him. He clearly, of every player in the draft, has potential to be the best player. He also has the potential to be the worst of the top 4, I would say. I think Boozer is obviously the more safe pick, but Darren Peterson also just fits perfectly into what they need in their starting lineup as opposed to Boozer, where they already have Walker. If they had chosen Boozer, Walker Kessler is losing his trade value because now you have Boozer, Walker Kessler, Markkanen, and Jaren Jackson. There's just not enough minutes and not enough playing time, and you can't really play those 4 guys together effectively. So I like the fit, I really do, and I expect the Jazz to be good next year.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is a team that, if all the pieces come together and they're healthy, could potentially vie for that number 5, number 6 spot in the West. I mean, you have proven pros like Triple J has won a Defensive Player of the Year award. Lauri Markkanen has been an all-star. Like, these are guys that can win now. Keontae George is in year 3 now, and so he kind of took a big step up. Ace Bailey is a bucket, and he was playing really well at the end of last year. And I expect Darren Peterson to shoot really well as soon as he gets in there. This is a guy that shot 44% from 3 as a true freshman in college on volume too. So I think he's going to have way more space than he did in college. So as long as he can knock down the shots, he is going to be a fantastic offensive addition for them. So I love the pick, and I think he's going to be really good. Um, Boozer, Memphis, love it, love it. After kind of the bullshit you dealt with John Morant and strip clubs and guns and everything. You got Cam Boozer is going to come in and he is going to be 20-10 for the next 10 to 15 years. And he's going to make your team immediately better. He gives me Tim Duncan vibes as far as like just he's going to be consistent and he's going to be good and he's going to make the right play. And it's going to be nothing too flashy. But I really like him as well too. uh, a pro's pro. I expect him to be and kind of be a calming force in Memphis. Now you have that guy that you really need in Memphis because they've never really had the one guy. I think Boozer could potentially be that. You got him. You pair him with Coward, go Cougs, and Jalen Wells, go Cougs. Um, and I think Memphis is going to be really interesting in like a year or two. They're probably still not going to be that great next year, just because they got to fill out that roster. But they will take a step up, and they're not going to be They're gonna be right in that play-in, probably 11 range, maybe 10, maybe get in the play-in there. We'll see. It depends on how good Boozer is right away. Um, but I like the move for them a lot, and Memphis fans seemed really happy. Like from what I heard, they let out a big cheer when Peterson went too, because Peterson and Memphis might have not been the greatest fit, obviously with what they've had recently. Um, and so Boozer is just the right culture fit, grit and grind, baby. So I love the pick for them.
Yeah,
Um,
I would, when I look at the West for next season, I would expect obviously the Jazz to move up significantly. Um, then I start to look at it, I think a team like the Grizzlies, you're right, are gonna be challenging for that spot. Because guess what? The Warriors and the Clippers, and the Pelicans, 42 wins, 37 wins, and 26 wins, all of those teams are trying last year. And Dallas and Memphis and Utah were not trying, and they're not that far behind. And basically, what's going to happen is they're going to try. They might not want to make the playoffs, but if they still end up with 3 lottery balls having the 10th worst record, that's what they want. They want to actually try to get these young guys real reps. I think the most exciting part about this draft process now and the lottery process moving forward is we're going to start seeing guys actually get real trying to win reps as young players in the regular season. And we're not going to see these players like Zach Levine and Andrew Wiggins and Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons just be stuck on really bad teams for 4 years stacking losses. So I think Memphis is going to be a lot better next year. And another team like that's going to be Chicago with this Caleb Wilson.
yeah, I've told you before, I love Caleb Wilson. I really do. He played all these guys in college with UNC and he beat them. And he played better than them. The game against Duke when he went up against Boozer, I thought was one of the better games I watched all year from someone. I From what I've heard, his competitive drive, his motor, uh, will guarantee that he is a good pro. Now he has a little bit less of a star status necessarily and or upside as the other 3 guys, but I know that he's going to be a solid pro just because of how much I think he cares and wants it. He took those games personally. Um, his athleticism is fantastic. On the offensive side of the ball, it's a little Giannis-y from what I've seen, and from what I've heard of actual pros, or I guess actual scouts doing this shit. Because me and you are just guessing, like we hear what we hear and we regurgitate it for the people. Um, I can't say I'm breaking down film all the time now, uh, but I did watch good amount of March Madness and select big matchup games, and caught a couple of UNC games, and I just really like Caleb Wilson. From what I've heard, the only issue is kind of like he might get exposed defensively, because they don't like the way he kind of flips his hips, backpedaling on defense. We'll see if he can fix that. Seems like it's something fixable. It seems like he's going to have the effort to at least give a shit on defense and get better at it. I wouldn't be surprised if Caleb Wilson is a multi-time All-Star and is a dominant offensive force. I really like Caleb Wilson, and I think this is awesome for Chicago. They finally decided to tank and stop being stupid. The Bulls have a new front office. They got a star player. You join them with Matas, so they should have some good offensive chemistry. Um, and our boy Josh Giddey, and we should be rolling. We should be rolling in Chicago with a nice new young core. Um, that'll get you excited after years of mid purgatory, and then also getting rid of oh my gosh, who's the guard? Kobe White. That was such a bad move from them, not getting a first for him. But anyway, I like the way Chicago's growing into the back part of the 2020s. I think it
Hey, and
should be brighter
Dalen
ahead of
Swain
the
might
Bulls.
be pretty good too.
What'd you say?
Dalen Swain might be pretty good too.
Swain?
He was the
Yeah. So people
guy that
like
they
him as
took
well too.
right after the lottery. But
Yeah. I don't know a ton about him.
I think as far as Kid
But
Wilson, the main thing for him is just to continue to develop his, like, on-ball skills. You know, you'd hate for him to become more of, like an off-the-ball lob threat defensive demon. I mean, and he might be that. That might be what he becomes, but he also has, if he fulfills the offense potential, yeah, that's where people see his, ability in transition and with the ball to overpower people just going downhill to the rim. But to really unlock his offensive potential, he's got to become a better ball handler. Probably put on a little bit more size and also just improve his outside shot a little bit. Unless you're gonna be Giannis, and it's like, well, we can't really stop you from getting to the basket, so your 3-point shot doesn't really fucking matter. For most dudes, it does. So, yeah, I like the pick for Chicago. They finally have their building block, and we'll see how things move going forward there. I think their coaching hire again. I really like Tiago Splitter. Um, what the fuck is Portland doing? They just hired an assistant coach from Minnesota to a 1-year contract. Like, what are you doing, man?
and the thing is like I like Mike Nori. Like I think he's probably gonna be a pretty good coach. The problem is that he's probably gonna go there, show his chops, and then go take $5 million
A better
from
job.
somebody else because we got El Cheapo running the fucking show over in Portland. I feel so bad for their fans. And now this asshole feels validated in the way he does it because his stupid Carolina Hurricanes won the fucking championship. So he feels validated on not spending that much money, which no, causation is not, or correlation is not causation, or whatever the fuck the saying is. He won because he got there and there were already good players and the front office did well. It's not because they cut some people from the media department and that's why they had enough money to go win a championship. Whatever.
Hey, best of luck to
Crank.
Tiago
They can
Splitter and
crank off.
sorry for the Portland fans. Um,
Yeah.
Now, are there any
Sorry.
other? I mean, there are
Randall.
any other guys you wanted to mention in the lottery? I mean, there's got to be a couple, right?
Yeah, you got about 10 more minutes. Let's run through this. Obviously, the top four was the biggest part of the draft. Those guys are the people that we think are going to be studs. There's going to be a couple more out of this group of Keaton Wagler, who went to the Clippers. I like the pick for them. They've obviously drafted well over the years. If they like Keaton Wagler, I trust that he's going to be probably a pretty good guard. It's not as flashy as them go getting a cuff. Uh, I love a cuff. I don't care that he's not going to be that good at defense. Um, I I love him going to the Kings. He is just another one of these Calipari awesome, awesome guards. He shot the shit out of the ball. He's electric. It's something that the Kings need. I love him going 7 to the Kings, and potentially turning that franchise around a little bit. I also like what they did drafting Alex Caravan, a winner that is going to be in the same ilk of like Donovan Clingan and Castle and these guys that come out of UConn over this Dan Hurley era. They're just going to be good pros. Caravan is going to be a good pro. You're going to get 10 good years out of him. And so I like those two picks. It's definitely a culture setter for the rest of the organization. Um, Kingston Flemings to Atlanta. People really like him out of Houston. He's definitely got some good upside. Michael Brown Jr. to the Knicks. So that's kind of all these guards in that next portion of the draft. We'll see. I don't have a lot of faith that he's going to do great on the Nets. There's a clusterfuck of guards there. That could be tricky for them. Braden Burries to the Bucks. I like that pick for the Bucks. I kind of wish he would have gone somewhere better. Some people liked him the most out of that group of guards in that next round. But nonetheless, a good pick for the Bucks. They also took Nate Ament, who is a guard. People aren't so hot on him. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the guard situation. Do you have any thoughts on that group of guards?
It would just suck to be. I mean, I don't know. You have one, two, three, four, five. Wait, yeah, one, two, three, four, five guards go on in a run with Morez Johnson Jr. kind of sandwiched in the middle there. Two of those guys aren't going to be good. So it's like if you're in that string of like, okay, like, and all of these guys are pretty interchangeable. Like you said, there are some people that had Brandon Burry's, as high as number 6. I don't know, man. I just feel like Darius Acuff, like, yeah, there's question marks about whether you can build around him, or I know it's gonna work. Whether or not it's gonna work, like whether this guy's fucking Shea Gilgeous-Alexander at Kentucky, I don't know. He might be De'Aaron Fox or somebody else like that. But we know that guys that are coached by Coach Calipari, that are the guys with the ball in their hands at the program, they work in the NBA. They work in the NBA. So that'd be my main thing. I know that like the Clippers were kind of like, yeah, but we already have Garland. We already traded for Garland, so it doesn't really make sense to take Acuff. I get it. I honestly, if I had to guess, I would say that Acuff and Wagler are the two that I think are going to work. Unfortunately, Burries, I think may have been more dependent on where he went, because I don't know, Milwaukee. There's a lot of guys on Milwaukee, and I just think he's going to be kind of fighting for, kind of get lost in the mix a little bit, almost like some of these OKC guys. Not quite like that, but a little bit, where there's just not enough shots.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna have to come out, and we'll find out if he's made for the NBA because of how he's gonna have to compete with like other younger guys, um, or other young guys. I guess he's probably gonna be the youngest on the roster, um, for shots and playing time and whatnot. So if he's got it, you know, if he's got it, you'll know because he's in Milwaukee. It's not a situation where he's gonna get buried. He will have his opportunities. They're not gonna be great. As far as, like you said, OKC, going with Adai Mara, not shocked that he slipped that far, but it's a great pick. It's a great pick for OKC. I mean, it's exactly where he should have gone and a team that wanted his exact skill set. He is 7'3". I think he's got a 9 foot, like 8 standing reach or something like that. He will be another big body to go in there against the alien. I couldn't think of his name for a quick second. Victor Wembanyama, Victim Wembanyama,
And Jokic.
Wembanyama, Victim Wembanyama. But Adai Mara was a great pick for them. I love that. They're so smart, and now they got some more size when Chet is going to bitch out in the playoffs if he does again. So they got some Chet insurance there.
I liked the pick
Other
from
than
Golden
that,
State as well. I think he's gonna fit
yes,
great with
Yaxel.
I think he's gonna fit great with Golden State. Um, and personally, if I was like Brooklyn, I would have been looking to like trade back and get somebody like that, just because the area that you were in was so guard heavy. I mean, they must not like any of the guards that they ended up with, last season. So, um, yeah, I love that pick. I thought I already mentioned Dylan Swain, or Dalen Swain, excuse me. Uh, And then, hey, this guy that the Spurs got, scary. Like,
Yeah.
this kid from Kentucky who, like, is a defensive demon and, can't really go wrong on this team because they don't need a whole lot outside. Obviously, they need more, like, down the stretch at the end of the game, finishing the game off stuff, but it's just additive. It's just completely additive. If this guy works, great. We have basically this lineup that we can do that Houston has, where we just throw dogs at you. Um, Man, he is scary, and I think he could be the steal of the draft when looking at some of his tape.
Yeah, it's either that or LeBaron Philon for the Sixers. A lot of people really like him. He got a lot of hype. Another good pick by them. Um, he's a guard though, so it'll be interesting to see. At least they got Tyrese Maxey out of there, or not Tyrese Maxey, sorry. Um, at least, at least they got rid of your boy,
Jared
your
McCain,
boy,
yeah.
Jared McCain. At least they got rid of him, so there's a little bit more open space. Um, yeah, he could be the steal of the draft as well too. Haynes Steinbach out of the University of Washington. Boo, but he went to Charlotte. He's a motherfucker rebounder, so that's probably a good pick for them. It'll get Lamo and all those guys extra shots. Yeah, I like Yaxel as well too. Morez Johnson to Dallas. People like. Three more quick ones. Celtics, Chris Sinak Jr. Just watched a nice 4-minute highlight of him rebounding off of, Houston. I did. Watched a nice 4-minute highlight tape of him just rebounding, and I'm all in. I love it. This guy's a dog. We'll see. We'll see how much upside he has. He was the number 4 player last year coming out of high school in the class. So there's real big upside with this guy, which is totally up to the Danny Ainge playbook. So I really like that. And at least he will get on the court with effort there. Like I said, Caravan to Sacramento, I love that pick. And then Koa Pete, watched a lot of him at Arizona. I really like him. I think he has a high upside for Phoenix, and to get him at 30 when midway through the season he was like potentially a lottery player. I like Koa Pete, and I think he could be good. And there's a familiarity just going from Arizona to Phoenix. Um, Phoenix is in Arizona, if you guys weren't aware. So I like that. Other than that,
Do you think Amari Williams or Chris Sinat will play more next season? I think Amari will.
Amari, just because he's already been in the system for a little bit and he grew 2 inches, which is a lot. I don't care what anybody says. And I think he, he's been with the pros and the team for a year, so I think he could be an actual contributor next year.
Well, if one of those
Um,
guys hit and then we are able to sign a big, I think we're okay. We did win 56 games last year without Tatum. If we sign a real big, one of these rookies hits from Amari Williams or this guy, I think we're okay.
yeah. And then the Pelicans, if Kingston Flemings doesn't hit, it's actually a good trade. It's actually a good trade for them to go get Derek Queen. I'm not gonna lie.
Process was
How
still
about that?
bad. Process was still bad. Your organization
Your
still stinks.
process was terrible. End result might actually be a win.
Ugh.
Like,
Okay,
you
Nico
know, you
Harrison.
you trip you trip to the finish line. Yeah.
Nico's like, yeah,
Um,
we got 8
okay.
years younger and in better shape. What do you mean? Why are you mad? I traded one white boy with some motion for another white boy with some motion. What of it?
And you know what? We'll cut it off on that.
God forbid.
Thank you guys. God forbid a white boy get a ounce of motion in this economy. Um, Other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. I just want to say Buffalo Wild Wings has Michelob Ultra beer towers now. So if you want to get some real motion going on, it's not an ad, but I'm excited to check that out this weekend. Watch a little World Cup and enjoy myself. So, Todd, thank you so much for joining us. I know you got to go. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe. Please like, leave a comment as well too. Tell somebody about it if they like basketball. And we'll be back with you sometime next week. All right, Todd. Good job by you, buddy.
Hey, good job by you, bud. Love you guys.